Hi, I'm Jess. I'm a knitter living in New York City, and I'm the freak behind the Cardigan Freak Knitting Podcast. This is a pretty traditional knitting podcast where I'll talk about my finished objects, works in progress, and then my future plans. Today is my second episode. I'm coming back a lot faster than I anticipated, and that's because I have a few gift knits to show that I'm really excited to talk about. As you can tell, I'm wearing one of them. But yeah, as I said before, it's a traditional knitting video podcast. My Ravelry is JB Knits, and I'll make sure to put a picture of my handle on the screen, and in the description below I'll link all of the projects I'm talking about on both the pattern pages and my Ravelry project pages. And at the end I'll give some shout outs to some knitting podcasts I'm loving, and of course some recipes that I've enjoyed baking. For everyone on the edge of their seat from my last episode, I was able to revive my sourdough starter at the request of my sister, so yeah, I hope she's excited. I think today, I forgot to say, today is Wednesday, March 19th. And I think I'll try and be able to bake a loaf on Friday. So yeah, maybe we'll get an update about that next time. But yeah, without any further ado, I guess I'll jump into it. Okay, so we're gonna start with the finished object. So I'm wearing my first finished object. I couldn't be more excited about this. I really think that I ate with this one. I don't know. That could be like a little dramatic, but I think this is like one of the best cardigans I've ever made. So what is it? So yeah, this is the Maggie Cardigan by Petite Knit. It's a gift for my sister, but she lives in Chicago and she is not here yet to pick it up. So until then, I've kidnapped it to wear it just this once because I couldn't be happier, like 99% with how it turned out. I think this is honestly one of the best cardigans I've made, and I'm just like so happy with it. Yeah, I'm excited about it. I think it really, I hope she is as excited about it as I am, because I think this is a really great cardigan. Yeah. Okay. So, so this is the Maggie Cardigan by Petite Knit. It's a European shoulder style pattern that's worked from the top down. Both the pattern and my version are, well, the suggested yarn is Cardiff Cashmere, and I use Cardiff Cashmere in the shade Gerbera. I have a really small amount left. Oh yeah, it's kind of, I forgot to, it's like in the back of my yarn stash. I knit this on 4mm needles, up 1/2 millimeter size from the pattern, and I did my ribbing on 3.25mm needles, and I got gauge, which I think was 23 stitches for 10 centimeters. I think so. And I knit the size XL, and I used a little under 11 balls of this Cardiff Cashmere, 10 3/4 if you're curious. And yeah, and the yarn is in the shade Gerbera. It's a red color, not to be confused with the other red Hermes, which I have there. I don't think you can see actually. But yeah, I'm really excited about this one. I knit it, I mean, yeah, I'll say I modified the pattern. Okay, so it's knit like a traditional cardigan from the top down. The first modification that I made had to do with that. I steek this one, so I guess I'll just show you. So yeah, pretty much I just, like, instead of knitting it flat, I connected it in the round at the part where you do the final set of neck increases here. And so in order to do that, I spoke about this a little before, I added on 7 extra stitches, 3 purls, 1 knit, and 3 more purls, and those are my steek stitches. With that, I honestly, I don't know, I don't think I did the best job with the steek itself. So here I just kind of like knit it down onto my, like I knit it as if I sewed it down as if I were weaving in ends. So like I did a zigzag in my in the purl side of my fabric, and then I kind of like did the same zigzag on my steek stitches. So I just so I don't know, I think like if I'm being nitpicky, I think you can kind of see a little bit of a pucker here, but the reason I steek this is really in the interest of time, just because yeah, I had 3 gift knits to make for my sister coming here, or for her to pick up, and that's like like a month and a half of knitting, and I was missing knitting things for myself. I guess you could say a selfish knitter at heart, sorry. But yeah, so mainly in the interest of time. So if I were to knit this again, for myself, I don't think I'd have that issue, and so I guess, yeah, that's an avoidable issue. But yeah, to steek it, I just like ran the steek panel down my sewing machine 3 times, like how I did for my uni cardigan last time, and then I just cut it down the middle. So yeah, that was pretty easy. And then the other modification I made is with the button bands. So the pattern calls for like a 1x1 rib button band with yarn over buttonholes, and I did a 12 stitch double knit button band. I picked up the button band before I cut my stitches for the steek. I don't know, I heard it provides some insurance, and also I feel like it's good to do like everything before the steek because it's kind of like irreversible, so I want to be sure it's exactly how I like it. Or yeah, so I did that, and I used 15mm buttons. These are just like some plastic buttons. However, I think a 12 stitch double knit button band at this gauge really suits this button size perfectly. In my last version of the Maggie cardigan, this is my 2nd time making this pattern, I used the same button size, but I did a 9 stitch double knit button band, and I feel like the buttonholes kind of look like that, like it's gapey, and I really dislike that. Like I'm thinking of buying new buttons for it, or like maybe I don't think I'm quite annoyed enough to redo the button band, just because like I already used leftover yarn from that one, so I'd have to like undo it, but whatever, you know. But yeah, I'm really happy with how the buttons look here. There's minimal gapiness to be seen, and one thing I did to make sure I sewed the buttons onto the right places is when I picked up my stitches for the non-holy side, I also made sure to mark off where each of the buttons would be. And that actually goes into one more thing I want to say. So when I've modified like quite a few cardigans to have a double knit button band instead of a 1x1 rib, just because like I think like a yarn over buttonhole, I don't know, I think it's kind of like wimpy. Like I have some heavier buttons, and it just like I don't think it can really stand up to a heftier button. And even like why am I doing a yarn over for my 15mm buttons and also my 25mm buttons? You know, I don't know, that's just me being nitpicky again. But yeah, so because of that, I've modified this and a lot of other cardigans to have a double knit button band. And actually this goes for both like double knit button bands and 1x1 knit button bands. But one thing that really kind of bothers me is having the buttonhole from here to here not be evenly spaced, because here you're accounting for your double knit portion and the little bit of ribbing before you make your buttonhole. So what I do to account for that is I just made a quick little formula in my Excel spreadsheet where I like track all of my stuff, but pretty much you just think of your, like, you just would take your total stitches from the bottom of your, what would be your last buttonhole. So for this, I started my buttonhole 4 stitches from the bottom to what would be the bottom of your last buttonhole, or like your last buttonhole here. So for this, I had like 4 stitches here, so I would say the 5th stitch is the start of that. And then here there are like 5, I don't know, like 6 rows of ribbing before the buttonhole, so I would add like 6 to all of those stitches and then divide it by 5. And then you would think of like each of these sections as one, like as each of these as like 5 different sections. And at the bottom you can make your buttonhole however many stitches you want. For those curious, this one, I mean, how many rows you want. I made 3-row buttonholes for this because I'm like really horrified of the buttons like falling out because the buttonhole's too loose. Sorry. But yeah, I don't know if that was a good explanation, but basically you just think of it from the bottom of the last buttonhole to the last stitch before your top buttonhole as 5 equal sections, and then you can because of that, like the first however many like rows from each, or stitches from each section, would be your buttonhole, and then you would mark it off like that kind of. And also I would kind of recommend like fudging with the numbers a little bit, so it's a number divisible by 5. I mean, it doesn't need to be, but that just like makes it easier. But yeah, maybe I'll show my Excel little calculation on the screen also. But yeah, so that was the other modification I made to this. And then if I'm being really nitpicky, what I would change about this is I would love for the ribbing to be just like a hair neater. Like I think it could be like a little crispier, as they say. And I was actually looking back on my Ravelry notes, and for my last Maggie cardigan, I used a 3mm needle, I guess, for the ribbing. There's no good way to like say what you used what needle for unless you make like a note of it in the comment section, which I don't typically. So yeah, and for this one I used 3.25mm needles for the ribbing, and I always knit my ribbing from the inside out. So here you can see this is my short row where I turn the ribbing inside out. And actually for me that's an appeal of doing a steeked cardigan, because then you can have neater ribbing by doing the ribbing from the inside out, versus when I do flat ribbing, actually what I do is I use interchangeable needles. So I use 2 different needle sizes. So on this one I did 3.25mm needles on the right side and 3mm on the wrong side. However, I honestly, you're not going to be able to tell from like whatever I'm doing right now, but I think maybe the wrong side looks better than the right side. So for my next rib neckline, I might actually do the smaller needle size on the wrong side and the bigger needle size on the wrong side. Yeah, unclear if that will make a difference, but yeah, I'm hoping so. I'm hopeful. But yeah, besides that, I'm really, 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 really happy with how this cardigan turned out, and I hope my sister is too. Yeah, I think this inspires me to make another Maggie cardigan, although it's not the quickest knit, but oh yeah, and about the dates. So yeah, I started this on February 23rd and I finished this on March 15th. Yeah, literally like trying to finish the neckline before I went to bed. I was just like, I can't do it. so I woke up and like hopped out of bed and finished the neckline, and then it was done, which is kind of silly. I'm a little too committed to the bit, as you can maybe see. But yeah, that's my Maggie cardigan. I took it out for a spin. I wore it today, but yeah, it's gonna be going, so it's been fun. But yeah, on to my next finished object, which is also a gift knit. And this is from my sister's friend. And this one, I literally just finished knitting this last night, like literally as the clock struck 11 p.m. That's when I bound this off. But this is the blouse number 1 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. It's just a blouse pattern, and it's meant for you to work, or for the pattern to be made with knitting for olive silk held double. But I actually use this cone of yarn that I have from Woolly Yarn, which is 70% merino and 30% cashmere, and it's actually a really light fingering weight. It's 580 meters for 100 grams. However, so yeah, really different than the like DK weight gauge that this pattern calls for. I think this really bloomed. I don't know, this is the strand blocked and this is unblocked, and I mean like maybe I'm delusional, but I feel like I can see a difference, and I really do think like this filled in the gaps of this pattern. Like, I mean, it's still like pretty airy, but I think that suits this pattern, and I don't know. Yeah, I think it looks good. So I knit this pretty much to pattern, besides one thing I'll tell you, but yeah, I knit it on 5.5mm needles, and this was honestly like a really fast knit. Like, I think if you have to make a gift for someone, or if you don't know what to make for someone, I think this would be like a really good gift knitting pattern because it flies off the needles. I started this on March 7th, and I finished it last night on March 18th, and pretty much as soon as I cast off my Maggie cardigan, I started working on this. So eagle-eyed people know that's pretty much just like 4 days of knitting, and like by that point, when I started knitting on this like monogamously, I was like right here, like at the sleeve increase, or maybe a little lower down, but yeah, pretty much I was still at a place where it was like a pretty tiny piece of fabric. But yeah, I think this pattern would also really suit beginners because this pattern has no finishing in it, and it's and pretty much just like make one left and make one right. So yeah, I feel like if this suits your style, I would really recommend it. I don't think I would wear this. I mean, I don't think it fits with my personal style personally, although I love the color. It's really looking cute. But yeah, my sister and her friend, I mean, I've made one that I gave to my sister, and now my sister's friend will have one, and I mean, this is by request, so I think it'll suit their style. And yeah, this is like pretty versatile. Like, my sister has worn this like as a swimsuit cover up. It could even be like a summer sweater, or even like a spring blouse. Yeah, whatever you want it to be, it can be. Yeah, you could, like, theoretically you could wear it like without a tank top under it, with the tank top under it. The world is your oyster. But yeah, it's a really, I would say a really good beginner friendly pattern, and could be speedy. And then, yeah, so the only modification I made to this was I did a sewn bind off at the cuff and hem. It's not like an Italian bind off. It's a really easy bind off where you take your needle through 2 stitches purlwise and 1 stitch knitwise. Then you just like do that the whole way around. And I like that bind off because I think it makes a really nice rolled edge. I've done it, like I learned that bind off from Brooklyn Tweed. I think they're really good at making video tutorials, and I learned so many things from them. But I originally did that for a different pattern where I made a rolled neck. And I was trying to look at, I mean, since I don't have my original blouse number 1, I was trying to look at the few pictures that I do have of it and see what I did, if I did a bind off in pattern or the sewn bind off last time. And I think I did the sewn bind off, although I have no idea. But yeah, I hope that's okay. And yeah, you can see I didn't cut all the ends yet, and I think with this kind of like airy fabric, it does make weaving in ends a little bit of a challenge because you can kind of see them. But with that, I did want to, you don't need to comment, of course, but I'd love to solicit some advice if you have any input. This pattern does have short rows, so there is a difference between the front and the back. And right now I haven't woven in my tail from my like long tail cast on at the beginning because I think I should like make it visible in some way for my sister's friend to know where there is a front and back. I mean, I don't exactly know what I did about this last time, and if my sister knows that the front and back of her blouse number 1 are different. But yeah, I don't know like if I should like leave like a weave it in and leave like a knot or something, but I'm thinking like how I should denote that the front and back are different in this for my sister's friend. And normally I'm like running to weigh my yarn to see how much I have left, but I didn't do that yet because I really recently cast this off. However, if I were to guess, I think I used about 160 grams of yarn. This cone was, I mean, I bought 180 grams of yarn. I don't know how much the cardboard thing weighs, but yeah, so that's like a little under 1,000 meters according to my calculations. But eventually, like, this isn't an efficient way to store this amount of yarn, so I'll wind it off the cone and I'll weigh what I have left. But for now, that's just my best assumption. But yeah, I'm really happy with how this turned out. And like when this became my main project, I was just like click-clacking those needles together, and this really just knit itself almost. And yeah, I think it's a really good gift knit pattern or beginner pattern. And also, yeah, I wanted to say, as I knit this off a cone, it was just really a joy to not have to connect any skeins. If you watched my last video, I did wind some of the cone off because this was like my transit knitting for the first little while, and I can see where I spliced that together. I'm looking for it. Of course now I can't see it, but to me, oh yeah, I can see here. It's right here. Well, you probably won't be able to tell either, but it's really obvious to me where they're spliced together. And I'm happy that I didn't have to do that anymore. And I'm happy that that's in the back. But also, I don't know if a non-knitter cuckoo person would notice that. Yeah, but yeah. Again, blouse number 1. Yeah, I have nothing but good things to say about this one. And yeah, I'm excited. I'll film some B-roll for this, just for the video, but yeah, I'm excited to try it on and see what it looks like. But yeah, hopefully my sister's friend enjoys that. Okay, now for works in progress. Last time I talked about a sock that I had on the needles. I haven't touched that, so it's sitting somewhere, and yeah, that's the last I'm gonna say about it. But this morning I did cast on something new. So this is gonna be the Ingrid Slipover. However, I'm gonna make it a stockinette only version. I'm knitting this in Drops Daisy. This is the first time I'm trying this yarn, and I really like how it's working up. I'm working it on I'm knitting it on 4.5mm needles, and I feel like, and I'm hoping to achieve a 20 stitch gauge, although I didn't gauge swatch for this, and I think I'll be on gauge, but this project isn't serious like that. Like I'll be happy however it turns out. Yeah, and when I got this yarn, I thought it would really suit a vest, and I only bought 6 skeins of it, so my plan is just to, unless it like turns out really long, I'm planning to pretty much just knit it until I run out of yarn. I'm knitting the size XL as I normally do with petite knit patterns, and as I mentioned, I'm gonna make this stockinette only. So the Ingrid like Slipover and sweater is like an, I don't know, yeah, kind of like iconic pattern from petite knit, and I have knit the Ingrid Slipover twice. I've knit one for myself and one for my grandma, and I knit it in like January of 2023, and honestly from that time I don't have a lot of like knits of mine that I still like really love wearing, but that is one that I look at it and I feel like really proud of myself. Like I think it looks so good, and I wear it because yeah, I guess it fits into my wardrobe. And since then I've knit a couple of other slipovers. I've done, yeah, like the weekend slipover, which is at a different gauge than this, and also what else, and I have the Stockholm slipover pattern, which is at a similar gauge to this. However, I really don't like the Stockholm slipover pattern because it doesn't use short rows. Like it uses, like, you pretty much like knit a square, and to shape the neck you like bind off your stitches, and I don't like picking up stitches from like a bound off stitch. I would prefer to pick it up from a cast on. So yeah, I did try and like rework that pattern to have short rows and stuff, but I don't know. Yeah, all that's to say that out of like the slipovers I've made, I really like the fit of the Ingrid Slipover, and I didn't want to buy another pattern, and also like I didn't necessarily see another pattern that was like the same shape but stockinette. So I just decided to try and like knit the pattern exactly the same but without the texture. So that's what I'm doing. As you can see, I'm still like in the really early stages. How this pattern works is you cast on at the back, and then you work your short rows, and then you like work a little section flat, and then you increase for the like underarm area, and then you pick up and you knit like both fronts, and then you knit flat under the neck, and then you connect it in the round. So I think like this will, I don't have an immediate need in my wardrobe for this project. However, the other thing I want to cast on, the cardigan number 9, I didn't think would be, I don't think it's a good transit knitting project, because you start out by knitting like 2 rectangles, and you have to use like the barber cords or whatever to like keep live stitches on, and there's like cutting the yarn and stuff like that. And this one, like I'm knitting like stockinette flat, so I figured that there was no way I'd get to a part where I had to cut the yarn today of this, and I was right. But yeah, so I think I'll just knit this on this monogamously until I attach it in the round, and then me and my sister are going to a show, so this will be my like during the show knitting, because I can only knit stockinette in the round without looking. And then, well, I guess we'll see where I am. Maybe I'll do the like neck and armhole finishings at that point, and then I'll just have it like kind of on the side. But yeah, I'm really, I mean, there isn't much to see, but I'm excited with how it's working up so far. And yeah, we'll see how we go with that. Okay, so that's pretty much my only whip right now, but I am hoping to imminently cast on the cardigan number 9 in this navy blue color. I've been hemming and hawing about this a little bit because of course I forgot to bring it, but I've knit the cardigan number 9 twice before, and once was in a really similar yarn combination. It was in the heavy merino and Lane Cashmere Dreams, which is like a mohair alternative, like a bougier alternative. And it's really oversized on me. Like I'll include some b-roll, actually. That's what I'm gonna do. But yeah, it's really oversized on me, and I knit it in the size XL, which I normally do with all patterns, and I've been thinking about what to do with that, or with my future cardigan number 9. And I think I decided to make it a size L. And also on my other cardigan number 9, the sleeves are really big, so I might take 2 rows away from the sleeve to make it like a little bit smaller. But I was just really going back and forth on whether to make this version of the cardigan number 9 in a size XL or a size L. But I think I decided to do a size L because I'm making the same pattern, but like, why would I make the same exact pattern twice? Like, the beauty of knitting is that I can make different versions of it, even though like the yarn combination and pretty much like everything is the same. But yeah, I can make a different size and it'll look different, and yeah, all that. So yeah, that's what I think I'm gonna do with that. So that's my first future plan. And that one, like, I know it's gonna happen. As I said, I think I'll cast it on as soon as I connect my Ingrid Slipover in the round. So maybe like in the next week, we'll say that. But besides that, I know, yeah, like in my last podcast, I talked about a couple of other patterns that I want to make, like the Traveler's Cardigan, which I do want to make, but I'm not gonna show you my yarn for that again. But instead, I wanted to touch on a couple of other patterns that I've swatched for and I'm excited about. Okay, so the first one is called the Back Yoke Sweater, and it's a similar kind of saddle shoulder construction, but instead of knitting 2 rectangles and connecting the knitting in one piece, you knit like a flat strip, that kind of goes across your back, and then that serves as the saddle shoulder. But yeah, so I think I really love how that pattern looks, and my motto, if you could say that, is any sweater can be a cardigan. So I think that could, if I enjoy knitting this version, I think that could potentially be a good cardigan, because I'm always thinking of my patterns like, oh, like this is a good 16 stitch gauge pattern, this is a good 17, 18, blah blah blah. So this pattern is 19 stitches for 10 centimeters, and I think I got that gauge when I knitting for Olive mohair and merino on 4.5mm needles. That's actually an interesting gauge. But this pattern is knit on with a sport weight yarn that's woolen spun, the Durarium Natura, not the one that's a weight below Gilead. I'm not super familiar with all their yarns, and it's knit, I think, actually on 4mm needles. But this is like a random woolly yarn cone that I got 2 years ago now, and it's 80% merino, 20% mohair. 20% cashmere. I don't exactly remember how many meters per 100 grams it is, but it's pretty much at a DK weight. And I was actually only able to get gauge, and I'm honestly, I don't think this looks too airy, but on 5mm needles. So I went up a whole millimeter needle size versus the pattern, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I'm happy with how this fabric looks, and I think like 2 years ago when I made this purchase from Wool Yarn, I didn't really know that much about yarn. Like now I'm definitely more adequately equipped to shop for yarn on a cone, like especially it's not like branded or anything. Like the only information you have is like the fiber content and how many meters per 100 grams it has. And I think like I thought I would make a vest out of it when I bought this, but now I think this will really suit the back yoke sweater. And yeah, I'm excited about it. I don't exactly know when I'll cast this on, but like I feel like sometimes I just like think of like all of the patterns I want to make, and I just like I need to like write down a list of all of them. So I don't know if this section will be super succinct, because I think I'll just like talk about whatever patterns are like top of mind for me, and maybe you'll see them in the next video, but maybe not. Okay, and then I'm going to talk about one more pattern that I'm kind of intrigued about, but you'll see I swatched for this but ripped out the swatch. So yeah, originally, so this is also Drops Daisy, and this is like an amazing cone. So actually like the reason I bought a bunch of Drops Daisy because it was $2.65 a skein, and this is like pretty much a dupe of Double Sunday by Sandnes Garn. And I heard this yarn is like Pill City, but yeah, I'm along for the ride. I'll see how it is. It's really enjoyable to work with so far in my other project. But yeah, I got this yarn and I was thinking like with this yellow, I thought that I could maybe do another cardigan number 9 held with this beautiful cone of yarn, which is, I think it's 75% merino, cashmere, 25% silk, and it's this fluffy yarn. And this is a dupe of Lane Cashmere Dreams, which I just have one sitting here in my stash, so I'll just show you. Maybe this is 80/20. I'll put it in the description or something. But yeah, this is like just honestly like the softest, most luxurious, like genuinely like a beautiful yarn. And I bought this online, and from Wool Yarn they do say like the Pantone name of all the colors, so I could have looked it up, but I thought this would be more of a white. The color name is called Flan, but it's actually a yellow. However, it really goes with this. I don't remember if I was intending to hold them together when I bought this, but they look great together. This is a swatch that should be that is waiting to be redone, I should say. But yeah, it's a really nice yarn, and this was honestly like in comparison to the prices I've got Cashmere Dream or this Cashmere Dreams yarn, it's such a deal. Like this, the best price like without a sale or anything I've seen this for, and I've also bought this in Copenhagen for like a more like yarn is cheaper in Europe, but yeah, like it was like about $21 a skein for 25 grams, and this I think I bought 180 grams, if I'm not, I don't remember exactly, but it was only around 40 euros. So I mean 25 grams for like $21 and like 180 grams for like 40 to 50 euros. I would say it's a deal. I mean, granted, if it just like sits in my stash and I don't use it, like what's the point? But yeah, I think I will use it. But yeah, so with all of that being said, I originally, as I said, swatched these together on 6mm needles, thinking it would work for the cardigan number 9. I couldn't get a 16 stitch gauge, even though I swatched on 6mm needles. I think I got 17 stitches, and honestly I do really like how the fabric looks. I don't think it looks super gapey or anything. However, I decided like I already have like 50 cardigan number 9s in mine. Like I don't need that. So I decided I'm gonna swatch for this on 5mm needles. So I started unraveling my swatch, as you can see. So sorry for the yarn vomit, I guess you could say. But yeah, I'm gonna swatch it on 5mm needles, and we'll see what gauge I get. But I'm right now hoping I get an 18 stitch for 10cm gauge. And if I do get that, what I'd love to make with this is the Honey cardigan by Knitters and Friends. It's a newer pattern, and honestly it has 0 projects on Ravelry right now, and it's so yeah, I don't know, but I've just seen it floating around. It's a drop shoulder cardigan with a double knit button band, and what makes it unique is the neckline is folded over, and also the pattern finishings are all in 2x2 rib. I don't know if I'm the biggest fan of 2x2 rib, but I think I would try it. And yeah, I don't know if I have any 18 stitch for 10cm cardigans in my like current pattern library, so it could be a good addition. But yeah, but if I happen to get 17 stitches for 10cm on 5mm needles, then I would maybe knit the cloud sweater with this. But I already have a couple of cloud sweaters in mind, and I think a cardigan would be more versatile. So yeah, that's a couple of ideas for this yarn. Yeah, I have some other things in mind that or other future plans that I would happily talk about, but the sun is setting and I like didn't pull out all of the yarn to talk about it, so we won't have that show and tell moment. So yeah, I'm just gonna jump into the next part of the video, which is talking about some podcasters that I've really been enjoying watching. Okay, so the first one I'm going to talk about, I literally just started watching her videos yesterday, and her videos are all in French, and I don't speak French, so I've been watching them with English subtitles, but I really love them. So yeah, the channel is Jeanne Helena, and she's a French knitting podcaster, and I just like love everything she makes. Her videos are super aesthetic. She uses a lot of brown, and brown is my favorite color. I love brown. And I love all the like choices she makes in her patterns, and she makes like a lot of patterns that I've made or am potentially interested in making. Like she made a brown Maggie cardigan. She made an Olga sweater, which was also brown, and it used, I actually have or I'm not gonna take it out, but she used Pure Ginton cacao nib, which is, it's a really nice color. And yeah, I really enjoy her knitting podcast. She just like, yeah, does some really nice work, and I don't know, yeah, I think they're a great find. And I discovered her videos because in my like YouTube For You page, her like spring pattern like suggestions video came up there. So yeah, she was talking about the Dagmar jacket. I also want to make the Dagmar jacket, maybe in the fall, but yeah. So that was my first recommendation. The second recommendation is True Lane. This one I'm not gonna say is a sleeper hit. Like I think True Lane, like I feel like she's pretty popular. Like we all know True Lane, but yeah, I think she like took some time off from YouTube, and I just saw like her newest video pop up in my feed over the weekend, and I was really excited to watch it. She's also making an Olga sweater, which is a good one. But yeah, I love her videos. I remember, I was just like thinking back, and I remember when I started watching her videos in, I think it was November of 2023. Or sorry, November of 2022. Yeah, it was in November of 2022, because I think Marlene from Marlene's Knit suggested her YouTube channel, and I didn't know of her channel at the time, so I started watching it. And I'm happy I did. Yeah, I really enjoy her videos, she knits like different patterns for me, so it's cool to see what she's making. And yeah, she has a great sense of style and all that, so it's definitely a good watch. And yeah, I feel like those are, I'll just talk about those two for today. But in my next episode, I'm of course going to be shouting out some more of my faves. Okay, and now recipes. Yeah, sorry if you're not interested in this portion, but I just like, I love baking. So I think in my real life, like whenever I talk to someone, like whatever I've been baking and hearing whatever someone else has been baking comes up. So I'm excited to share. But yeah, one exciting thing I baked over the past couple of weeks was biscotti. They were really good. I just like, yeah, they were very potato chippy, as knitters say, but in a different way. I just like ate a lot of them, but they were really good. I use a New York Times cooking recipe, which comes from the Union Square Cafe here in New York City, and it's a really good one. Yeah, it's like really straightforward double chocolate biscotti. Delish. They're like, I enjoy dipping them in coffee or just eating them plain, and it was really good. And I have to shout out the almond cake again. I actually made some last night. Just like, like my sister is coming, to have something to share. So yeah, it's still top of mind for me. It's a good recipe. The New York Times almond cake. I really like it. But yeah, if you have any like cardigan and pattern suggestions, or what you're working on, recipe suggestions, please feel free to let me know in the comments below, and I'll be really happy to hear about it. I'm hoping to come back again in, I don't know, yeah, I think it'll be the beginning of April, whenever I have a few finished objects, because I'm realizing I can talk and talk, so it's better to kind of not have like tons of stuff to talk about. So yeah, hopefully see you soon, but thanks so much for watching again,